Today we're going to talk about 4 key areas to help you better understand how well you're doing financially. And spoiler alert, you're probably doing a lot better than you think. So let's go for a walk and let's talk about this. So the 4 main areas that we're going to talk about are what the median earnings are, what median spending is, and this is all for U.S. families. Median spending, what the median net worth is for U.S. families, and then finally what the median debt levels are. And those are, in hospitals they have our vital signs, right? Your pulse, your respiration rate, your blood pressure. These are kind of the vital signs for any of us in financial planning, and particularly for retirement planning. And be sure to stay to the end, because at the end I'm going to wrap up and kind of share what I think are the most important takeaways from these numbers that I'm going to share with you. So let's jump in. Let's talk about earnings. So on the earnings side, and these are median household income numbers. And let me explain the difference between median and an average. If I had 99 people that are each making $70,000 a year, of course the average is going to be $70,000 a year. But if I added one more person, and that person happened to be making $1 million a year, all of a sudden the average is going to skew quite a bit, right? But the median's not going to change at all. The median's going to stay right where it is, because if you had 100 people, the median is where half of the people are making less and half of the people are making more. And so that's why the median is so much more important to use when you're looking at numbers like this. And I'll give you an example later where I have both the median, it's on the net worth side of things, both the median and the average, and you'll see how different they can be. Okay, so for earnings, and this comes from the U.S. Census report, 2019. They update these numbers every 3 years. So new data is coming out soon, but this is the most up-to-date information that we have right now. So on average, for all age group, the median household income, this is not individual income, this is household income. The median household income is just under $70,000. It's $68,703. But I also am breaking this up by age so that you can see how you can compare by age. So if you're 35 to 44, the median household income is $89,000 a year. If you're 45 to 54, the median household income is $92,000 a year. If you're 55 to 64, the median household income is $75,000. And then finally, for people over 65, the median household income is $47,000 a year. Now, if you're doing better than that, and I suspect a lot of viewers of my channel are, great, you should feel wonderful. If you're not doing better than that, though, I want to encourage you not to beat up yourself, right? Things are likely going to change. You're likely going to do better in the future. If you're watching videos like this, topics like this are important to you. And of course, the way that you can increase your salary, the most common ways here in the U.S., really 3 ways. One is education, learn some new skills. 2 is changing jobs a little more frequently. Multiple studies have shown, if we're willing to change jobs every 3 to 5 years, we're likely going to make more than our counterparts that maybe spend 20 years in the same job. So that's 2 of the 3. And then of course, the third one is either create a side hustle, something that you can do on the side to make some money, or start your own company. But boy, starting your own company can take some time. So anyways, I just want to put things in perspective. And I think most of you are going to finish watching this video and say, wow, I'm doing a lot better than I thought. But I also want to put things in perspective here and just share some of the global data on this. It's really kind of shocking. The median for the world, the median earnings for the world population is under $10,000 a year. And over 40% of the world makes less than $6 a day. So we're fortunate to be here in the US. Most of my viewers tend to be from the United States, Canada, Australia, and Europe and Britain. And those tend to be countries that we're fortunate to be in, right? They all have a lot of opportunities for careers. They all have high GDP per capita. So we're fortunate to be where we are. And then I also just want to share, there's a study that looked at people, people making the same job, same salary. Let's say you're an accountant and you're making $70,000 a year. Well, if you're an accountant in a business where your colleagues around you, you're making $70,000. If your colleagues around you, even if they're doing different work, are making $80,000 a year, you're much less likely to be happy with your salary than that same job getting paid $70,000 a year in an office where the people around you are getting paid $60,000 a year. So, it really just comes down to, being appreciative of what we have. So I just want to caution you about comparing yourself to others. The American culture is we're very competitive here. There's a lot of people, not myself, that, say, oh, second place is the first loser. I do not agree with that. But I've heard that multiple times. And just one thing to demonstrate that, right? We all know who the first person to walk on the moon was, right? Neil Armstrong. And many of my viewers are about my age, so we probably know the second person to walk on the moon. But the third person to walk on the moon is something that I bet 99% of the people don't know, including myself. You're looking at me, look at my notes here just to remind myself. Third person to walk on the moon is Charles Pete Conrad. And there's only been a dozen people, there's only been 12 people to ever walk on the surface of the moon. So you think about that, the fact that we don't know second and third, and I am guilty as charged. As well, I fall into the 99.9% that could not tell you who the third person to walk on the moon was. Buzz Aldrin, I do know Buzz, I don't know him personally, but I think a lot of us, because we grew up in the age where the moon landings were taking place, could name the second person, but are regular viewers of the channel. Okay, so we talked about earnings. Now, let's talk about spending, right? Because that's where the basis comes for building our savings, and that's where the basis comes for building our net worth. Once we have the savings, we can invest it. But spending, this comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. In this case, the average household spending is just under $67,000 a year. It's $66,928. This is 2021 data, the most recent data available. And unfortunately, that's up 9.1% from 2020. Now, there's an asterisk next to that because 2020 was a very unusual year. A lot of us weren't spending as much as we normally were because we couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't do anything, obviously because of the pandemic. So again, household level, let's call it $67,000 a year. And you break that out, housing, the average cost for housing was $22,000. The average cost for transportation, which is your car payments, car repairs, insurance, gasoline, that average cost is $11,000 a year. Healthcare costs, and this is just our portion of it. It's not what the employer pays for healthcare insurance. Just our portion of healthcare and our co-payments and doctor's visits and stuff like that. $5,500. For food, we spend about $8,000 a year, and that breaks down $5,000 a year when we're eating at home and $3,000 a year eating out. And then the final category is pension and Social Security, kind of forced savings for us. The average household spends $7.4 thousand a year on that. So if you look at this, the average household spending just under $67,000, and I shared earlier the median household income for all age groups is $69,000. So you can see we pretty much, that probably doesn't surprise people, we pretty much spend everything that we earn, which is why over half the people in the United States say that, if they had $1,000 repair for their car, they don't have the money to pay for that. They'd have to take out a loan or ask friends to help them out to make that payment. So those numbers ring true for me. I suspect they ring true for you as well. Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, so we've got our earnings, we have our spending, and from there we get our savings. So this is, let's see, over half, I just want to share this data before I go into the exact numbers. Over half of the people that make over $100,000 a year report that they don't save a dime. That's crazy, right? If you're making over $100,000 a year, hopefully you can find a way to start saving something. And if not, sign up for a course to help you out, because that's not going to have a good ending. So here's the numbers for the savings rate. And here I'm going to share with you the difference between the average and the median. I'm just going to share that for one category. The average 45 to 54-year-old, the average net worth is $800,000, but the median is only $170,000. So you can see big difference. 55 to 64, average is $1.2 million net worth, but the median is only $212,000. So I'm just going to go through these numbers with the median for you, but I wanted to illustrate why I'm focusing on the median. Okay, so for 35 to 45-year-olds, the median net worth is just under $100,000. 35 to 45 again. Just under $100,000, it's $90,000. The median for 45 to 54-year-olds is $170,000. The median net worth for 55 to 64-year-olds is $212,000. For 65 to 74-year-olds, the median net worth is $265,000. And then for folks 75 or older, the median net worth is $255,000. So that tells you the net worth. Now, again, we started with earnings, and we went to spending, and that gets you to what you can save. And now let's talk about debt, because just because you have this money in the bank account, just because this is your net worth, you also have to look at how much debt that you have as well. And I was really happy. I was actually able to find not just how much the average person has in their mortgage, which is really important data because that's the largest debt most of us have. But I was able to find out debt outside of mortgages, which I'm just going to classify as other debt. But that would include things like credit card debt. That would include things like car loans, or maybe medical loans. Sometimes people go to the hospital, they can't pay it all at once, so they have a loan there. So this is for debt. So 25 to 40-year-olds, which is millennials, the average mortgage payment's $255,000, and the other category is $4,500. For the Gen Xers, which is people that right now are 41 to 56, the average mortgage outstanding balance is $260,000. So you can see it pretty much stayed flat. And then the non-mortgage debt, the other category, is $7.2 thousand. So I think it's interesting to look at those numbers between 25 and 56. You know, we pretty much, our mortgage balance stays unchanged, right? We're probably moving, we might be upsizing our house, so the mortgage balance doesn't go down much in that category. Fortunately, 55 to 75-year-olds, the boomers, we see that $260,000 mortgage balance drop down to $200,000. I'd like to see that, you've heard me say this on the channel before, I'd like to see that drop down as close to zero as you can get it. For you personally, I know that's super hard to do, but it's going to give you a lot of freedom if you can pay down your mortgage as much as you can before you retire, and preferably before there if you can make that happen. Although I need to put in, you know, this is an unusual time. Many folks watching were able to refinance when interest rates were super low. So if interest rates are super low, the academic answer is probably keep your mortgage. Although for folks like me, the sleep at night factor, I would want to pay off my mortgage. So enough said on that. Okay, I promised to share my 3 key takeaways from this. But before we go there, hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up. Do leave me a comment as well. I read the comments. They're very motivational for me. I get a lot of ideas. In fact, this video is an idea that several of you had, you know, saying, hey, you know, here's my situation. How am I doing? So this is a video where we can all do that ourselves now. So leave me a comment. I do enjoy reading the comments. I try to reply to as many of them as I can every day, at least a dozen, often 2 dozen or more I reply to. So if I haven't replied to you yet, hopefully I'll get a chance to do that. Okay, so let me get to the final wrap up. You know, all these numbers help us out. It's a benchmark to show how we're doing. But I want to close with the fundamentals. And the fundamentals are, you need to have an emergency fund. I shared earlier about how few Americans Over half of Americans can't pay a $1,000 car repair bill if, God forbid, that were to happen. Don't let that be you. Have an emergency fund, at least 3 months, preferably closer to a year. I've shared before, personally, I have 2 years in my emergency fund. And that allows you to do two things. One, it allows you to weather situations like that $1,000 car repair. But I think even more importantly, if something were to happen to your job, it allows you to be picky and to choose the job that's right for you. So I think that's super important. That's why it's fundamental number one. Fundamental number two is, I don't care how much money you're making, you have to spend less than what you earn, or you'll never build up your net worth. So hopefully you're doing well in that category. I suspect you are. And then finally, it's not enough just to save money. You have to invest it. And I want to encourage you to rethink how you think about risk. Is risk the market volatility going up and down on a daily, weekly, monthly, or even annual basis? Or is risk the likelihood of you not achieving your goals over time? You know, if you look at a 10-year period, a 15-year, or a 20-year period, you know, I think that the odds are much higher that you are not going to reach your goals if you keep your money in a bank account that's paying less than inflation. And you need your money to work hard for you. You don't want to take on more volatility than you can withstand when things get scary, right? The market can and has and probably will again sometime in the future have a year where it's down 30%, 40%, maybe 50% or more. Those are really, really scary times, and you need to be able to weather those storms. So the time to figure out your asset allocation, what percent of your portfolio is in stocks, what percent's in bonds, the time to do that is before things get scary. So give some serious thought to that. If you feel like you need professional help doing that, I encourage you to Google a fee-only financial advisor and let a professional that, you know, this is what they do. Now, you can do it yourself. You absolutely can do it yourself. But just, it doesn't have to be crazy expensive to have somebody help you with your asset allocation. And that's one of the main foundations. You really want to make sure you get that right, because if you don't, and you blow out at the wrong time, it can cost you tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So get that asset allocation right. And really the goal is you can stick with it, not only in good times, but also in bad times. So I hope you found this video helpful. Again, if you did, give me a thumbs up. As the kids say, thumbs for likes and subs for love. And until next time, I'm Azul, encouraging you to take full advantage of the youth of your senior years. Remember, you're only young once. Let's use our time wisely.